Hello, hello, good evening. Yes, it's not Robbie. Alas, you poor things. Robbie's tied up today with the record store day, which is tomorrow, but the store opens at midnight tonight. He likes to be the first there to gather all the goodies, and he's doing a great thing by supporting independent record shops and independent labels and artists releasing oil. So he's not here this evening, but he will be back. He may pop in, we don't know. He may just drop himself in like he often does on these occasions. So welcome, good to see you, so many people in the chat already. We've got a lot in the show, but before we do that, it's Friday evening and it's the 19th of April, exactly 1 year ago today. It was the 19th of April. And it's 7 p.m. here in the UK, 7 p.m. in the UK, in GMT, UK. It's, what's that? It's 2 p.m. in New York. It's 11 a.m. in LA and Vancouver.
And it's noon in the only important part of the entire United States.
Yeah, and in New Zealand it's 1854. Apparently, I don't know. That's just what I hear. The weather's actually rather beautiful here. It's a bit chilly, but it's rather lovely. And here we are, Synth Network. So we've got a lot to get through today. But before we get to all of that and introduce that voice you just heard and others, we're going to go through the normal stuff that we go through. So I think probably the most important thing is, do give us a like, comment, subscribe, and share. It makes a really big difference to the channel. If you give us a like, we know, and it's great, and it helps us with stats and things, and increases our whatever it isness. And commenting also increases our whatever it isness. Subscribing really increases our whatever it isness. And the Penguin of Death won't come and visit you if you don't. Okay, I mean, I'm just putting it out there. So that's good. As with all of these things, you can do that below in the like, share. Please do give us a like. It's always good, and it really does help. And of course, many of you now support us, and if you don't, it would be great if you did. You can see us. Here we go. You can support us on Patreon from as little as £2. I think we set the minimum at £2, something like that. But you can put more in, as much as 5 billion trillion pounds if you want a month, or just stick at the £2 or less. It's entirely up to you. I think you can go down to £1, but if you feel you wish to, you can do it there. You can also do that, support us on YouTube as well, where you can use stickers. You can subscribe to the channel and log in there and become a member of the channel and pay an amount. And for those of you that do subscribe, we have all sorts of goodies on the Patreon site that you can see a lot of them anyway. You don't have to pay a penny to see them. But for those of you that do, we have a whole host of other goodies, new videos, different videos, downloadable sound banks which have been provided by the likes of Mark Barnes, I think it is, and other people whose names escape me, but they will. James Dyson. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there, and there's more coming, and we really do appreciate it. And you can also do the super sticker and the other sticker super thingy in YouTube. I know my stuff. I've really been researching this. So there's that. In the meantime, you can see us if you're not already watching us, which I'm sure you are. Otherwise, why am I telling you all of this stuff? But you can see us on YouTube. Let's get rid of that. On YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram. I could go through this, or I can just do it here. Look. Synth Networks on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, and you can see us on Uzz. So on any of those, we take the feeds in here. We have the moderators in the chats. So if you would like to ask any questions, just put a great big Q in front of any questions you have. Hopefully Kent or someone, or maybe Mike, if they're in, I don't know, because we don't know if anyone else is in yet. They will just be pointing us towards it, and we'll do our best to answer your questions for you. And our lovely moderators as ever, I believe it's Andrew Brooks, Andrew Synth, thank you Andy Synth very much, and Ben from Musings, Ben Musings, whose website is just the fount of all sorts of wonderfulness if you like vintage mags and all the covers and stories that were around back then. And I think guess what? I think that's it. I think we got the intro out of the way. So before we go too much further, it might be an idea for me to introduce one of our other colleagues here, young Mr. Oh, well, we've introduced all of them. Why don't we just go to Mr. Kent first? There we go.
Hello.
You've got a flashy thing behind you.
I got a what-what-y?
Flashy
Oh, yeah,
thing.
no, she's just, they're sort of like, danger, wheel rums.
How are you? How's your week been? How's your day been?
Yeah, massively busy. Interestingly enough, I took delivery of a CS80 yesterday. I'm supposed to be assessing, and I took it down to the workshop today to assess it. Opened it all up and found it to be my very, very first CS80 that I sold in 1989 for £170.
For £179.
Yeah.
Is it still working?
Oh no, it's god awful. Apparently packed up in about 2001 and has never been turned on. Has been sitting in the garage since, and needs quite considerable work done to her.
Well, that'll keep you busy, won't it?
Yeah, so it's come full circle. It's come back to me.
We need to talk more about that, and we shall. But before we go too much further, I think it's time to introduce our third guest for the evening, the inestimable, the irrepressible, the one and only, Mike Metley.
Hello, all you nice people in the computer.
God, he's off. Kent, he's off again.
Hello, everybody. It's awfully good to be back, as always. Andrew, thank you very much for having me. Kent, always good to see you. I just have to ask, is that memory Moog behind you the same one that was burning in last week?
Yeah, it's got nowhere to go at the moment. So.
Oh, God. Well, congratulations.
How's your week been, young Mike?
My week has been very busy. I've got stuff happening with a bunch of different clients, manuals for really cool new stuff that will be out soon from various people, and some blog entries, and actually even a little bit of music. I was able to actually play live on my my radio show on Tuesday evening, and got some nice compliments. And so it's good to be doing actual music with this stuff.
And I was going to ask you, after last week's show where we had the magnificent Kim and whoever else,
Joe Silva, who's also magnificent.
How
Hi,
did
Joe.
that? So for them, how did that work out for them? Have they had many people sign up for the book?
We've been doing well. We'd like to do better. So if you could go to Bukes.com, BJOOKS.com, and sign up. The Kickstarter, I believe, is starting next week. I think that was officially announced. And you can pre-order and qualify for some really cool extras. There will also be some Kickstarter-only benefits and so on. So
and remind us what the book title is.
I don't remember.
Something
The Mini Moog book, which is going to be the book about the Mini Moog. We've got new photographs taken by the guy who photographed a lot of the stuff in Synth Gems 1. We've got over 70 interviews with Mini Moog users, old and new. We cover the original Model D, including the prototypes A, B, and C, and we have an exclusive photo gallery on serial number 1. Thank you, Ben.
There we go. Good stuff.
And I also have. I'm putting in a primer on analog synthesis using the Model D front panel. We've got patches in there.
So there's a lot. There's a lot there. I was hoping for a short answer, Mike. I was hoping for a short answer.
A short answer? 2 years of work and we're dying, but the book is going to be phenomenal.
So let us just... Oh, look, that's not looking terribly... There we go. That's it. What are you eating there, Ken?
You know when you get fads? Well,
fat.
I got a fad for fries chocolate creams.
For what?
And so far, fries chocolate creams.
Oh my God, I love those.
I saw them.
So far, I've eaten 23 this week.
God.
How is the diabetes?
Well,
you
24.
You can't get them in the States. I
No?
adore them.
Yeah,
No. They're here. You go. They're imported, and one of those bars will cost you £4.
So,
On the other hand, the best Benny Hill ever used Fry's chocolate cream, where Benny is in drag and he's doing a chocolate cream commercial, and someone from off screen throws a bar, and Benny misses it, and you hear from off screen, "You missed it again, you fat cow."
right. So, welcome to the
I said that this
Synth
afternoon.
Network
Wow.
once again. It's lovely to have you all here. We've got all sorts of synth-related news, and
let's get started.
mostly we seem to be covering Fry's chocolate cream. But so the reason that Robbie isn't here, as I mentioned in the very lengthy intro, is because of National Record Store Day. Now, somewhere here, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, I'm just going to be because it's slick as weasel shit here. There we go. Let's do that. Share it. There we go. And bang. So, on this day every year, record stores, independent, this is a celebration of independent record stores where they reckon that by opening it up and doing a day dedicated to this, they stimulate something like £9 or £10 million back into the independent record store sector. And they have a huge number of artists that also release stuff specifically for this or around this. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here. You can find your local record store. And I heartily advise you to try and get along to one of these if you can. And whilst we're doing that, I'm just going to find the list of artists. Here we go. I'm just going to do this and bring that up instead. He said, again, this isn't quite the Robbie standard of slickness, but we'll get there in the end. So, the official list. Here we go. I'm going to take this full screen, I think, because that's what we need from this to see it. So there are a lot, as you can see, of artists. I'm just going to zoom on this a little so you get a sense of who's there. We've got everyone. We've got Alan Parsons. We've got who else have we got? We've got Barclay James Harvest, Bebop Deluxe. My goodness, The Beat. We're only on the Beats, Black Sabbath, all of these on vinyl. There's some serious stuff coming out. I think there's 260 releases for this particular event. And Rob is going to be out there, as I say, tonight, and will be picking up the first of his things, his goodies, at midnight, I believe, or 1 minute past midnight, something like that. De La Soul, there's, Donna Summer, The Doors. There is so much here. If you can't find something, then you're dead to me, because there is stuff here for just about everyone. So it's a good thing. Anyone, just so we can, here we go, let's bring it back to this. Anyone here have any thoughts about this, about supporting your local record store in this way?
I love this. I think it's incredibly important. I'm glad they do it. I guess my one thing that sort of gets me, and this is just because I am an astoundingly old fart, is just the change in cost. Back in the days when you could get, an LP in a used record store for $1 or $2, and you would just be able to load up your cart with all kinds of really bizarre old stuff. Now, even the used stuff starts at $7 and goes up, and some of the new stuff is $50 or $60 for a double LP. I think it's great. I understand these people have to make a profit, and I'm really, really glad that there are folks out there who are flush enough to do this. It's sometimes these things are a little too rich for my blood. I usually avoid the 19th, and I go in later in April and sort of see what's around and pick up some bargains.
But I think, Ken, what do you think? Because we know lots of people. We know lots of people in the group, lots of people here that do like to release this stuff onto vinyl, limited runs. Plenty of my pals do. There's a lovely guy called Dave Anderson who lives in Ireland. I used to work with him at EMU. He's been with Creative and he does all sorts of things now. And he's been putting out some banging tunes for the last 20, 30 years. And he's got some releases out there now. I think it's important to get in there and try and find stuff if you like vinyl and get some of this stuff bought. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, for me personally, my unpopular opinion is that I personally couldn't care. I don't live in 1964. I haven't got a record player. I spent a lot of money and waited a long time for a better medium to come along, and it has, and I got it. Thank you.
But that's the technologist in you, as much as Mike, I'm going to come to you on this as well, Mike. But I think the thing is, there was an experience with vinyl, with albums, where you had this big cover and sometimes gatefolds, and you had the entire experience of seeing all the stuff, reading it through, seeing the instruments, seeing the people, as well as the actual vinyl itself. And we know that vinyl's not a great medium. Everyone says it is, but it's not. It's just not.
It's not.
But as an experience, not for technophobes, not for technologists, but for most people, I think it's a really good thing that it's still going. Mike.
Well, first of all, Andrew, we've got a couple of requests in chat that you crank your vocal level by about 2 dB.
Okay. How's that, guys?
Much better, thank you. Second thing, Dr. Synth, Manny Fernandez, is in chat, and he says, he says, I just noticed that ominous red flashing display behind Kent. Look out, the memory Moog looks ready to blow. Hurry, cut the blue wire. And as far as, I mean, I'm going to agree with what you said about the record player experience. There used to really be something special about having the jacket to look at, and CDs. In the very early years of CDs, people would try to fold up these gigantic banners and put them in the jewel case. I know, because I did it. And the problem is that, getting them in and out is a bit of a palaver, and looking at them, especially if they're reproductions of a 12-inch album cover, the print is tiny. And if you have even a tiny bit of problems in the print separations, you can't read anything. So yeah, some of that was lost. And I'm personally fascinated by all the different ways these new media are being packaged and the ways that people deliver them. I'm probably the only person on this call right now, or in the audience, that still has mini discs, commercially produced.
I still have them. I don't listen to them anymore, but I still have them. And
just some of the things they did with packaging, especially in Japan, were really gorgeous. And Amanda Chowdhury says, I still buy CDs, particularly at shows, but I usually rip them to listen to them rather than sticking them into a CD player.
Well, here's the thing. I do the same thing.
So do I.
If I like a piece of music, I will seek out the CD and I will buy it wherever possible, either direct from the artist or at the point that will get them the largest share of the royalty. Mm-hmm. That's just, and I like having them. I've got zillions of the bugs.
Well, the other thing is, of course, at one time a day, listening to music was an activity that you did.
Yeah.
And you didn't do anything else. You would sit there and you would listen. You put the record on, you'd listen to it, and like Mike says about, you'd look at the album or just stare at it and stuff like that, and just go through the little pamphlets and stuff as the music's washing all over you.
Yep. And none of us were stoned at the time.
And no. At some point in my life, listening to music became something that was running in the background while I got on with something. And it didn't become an activity anymore.
I wonder if that's age as much as anything else. But
could be.
Well, but the thing is, the new generation is all like that. They are entirely used to music that is only an intangible. And in a way, it's kind of funny because we're going back to the 19th century. We're going back to the.
We're going back to generalization. It's a huge generalization.
It is, in fact, but
I know a lot of people that are the kind of age that I was when I started listening to music and going out and buying it for the first time, and a lot of them are doing the long form experience. They're still going to be. Guess what? When we were young, an awful lot of people just had on something on AM radio in the car in mono, crackling away, and they were still hits.
But the point is, the point I was trying to make before you so rudely cut me off and the Penguin of Death didn't stop you, was that people are used to an intangible experience. They're used to listening to something and then it being gone. And we haven't really had that since wax cylinders were invented. People don't realize that in the 10,000-year history of music, we've had a blip of a little over 100 years where you could have somebody capture a performance and then you can listen back to it whenever you want. You know, now anybody can make music, but there's no packaging.
There's a much larger discussion. I mean, although it's the ProSynth network and we're cracking on, but to give that some context, Mike, you are right. When the wax cylinder came out and then vinyl, wax discs, when that happened, the experience of music at that time was either, or folk stuff or whatever, or you'd go and see someone play. You would go to a concert hall to watch people. So you were used to sitting down and paying attention. And so that's where that experience, the vinyl experience drew from that right the way through.
I agree.
And it's only since mobile phone, it's become more and more, with the advent of AM radio, then FM, it became more transitory. And that's just become, much more the case, even more the case now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And somebody, Nick Howes, mentions how Spotify has destroyed artist royalties. I would put in a plug for Bandcamp. Not all of the really famous people are on there, but more and more of them are doing it. Bandcamp by far gives the most out of every purchase to artists. They get to set their own amounts. They get to give stuff away for free if they want. And once you buy it, if you have an account, it's there. You can download it whenever you want, anywhere from AIFF quality all the way down to 320K MP3. And I really want to promote that platform because it's just so important, and there's really nothing else out there like it.
I absolutely agree. And I think Andy Brooks has commented here somewhere that, let's just get this back up.
Bandcamp for EVA.
All very true. It's a mere blip in the history of music. Once it only existed when it was performed. That's why live is still magic.
Live is always magic.
That's kind of the theme of, sort of part of the theme. You're supporting independent, smaller artists, labels, bands, all of that. I think it's,
go to the gig, buy the merch.
So talking of independence or smaller and supporting smaller artists and endeavours, I was going to bring this up earlier, but I'm going to bring it up again when I can find the bugger. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. What do you make of that? I'll put a different one up now, which is, there you go, in context. And if you have a look, this is a photo of PMT, the PMT store in Norwich. Mark Ferguson, God bless him, the Yamaha Pulse manager at PMT. He made the posters and he took the photo. The poster is there. And if you see in the background there is a screen with ProSynth Network playing. So they watch the show. They leave it running.
God bless.
So
bless.
So we're having an effect. And he's supporting us. Thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate it. Robbie sent that to me. That's all really good stuff. Now we've managed to get
Amanda. It's a mini freak, not a mini brood. Oh. But that's okay.
So, I suppose we ought to get onto some synth-related stuff.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Old Synchrotron. Yeah, there's something for Synchrotron. Here we go. You're not alone, mate.
Eastern Promise. I always wonder why it wasn't Eastern Promise on
I've had about 12 of them this week as well.
Oh, I adore those, but I'm getting to the point now where I can't have that much sugar. It starts sending me.
Oh no, I've got to, otherwise they waste away.
Yeah.
Well,
honestly, I turn into a stick.
I was skinny once, believe it or not.
So
Yeah, nobody believes me. Okay. It's okay.
I've always been statuesque. So look, let's get on with some. Let's get
What's
on with
that
some
even
news.
mean?
There was, as we know, not last week. We didn't get onto it last week because we were talking about Bukes, and the wonderful Mini Moogie thing, which was a great show, and it was really good to have you in there as well, Mike. But I think we touched on this little thingy. Where are we? I'm just going to bring this up. Where are we? Going to share the screen. Boom. There we go. Bang, bang, bang.
There we go.
Yes. The Behringer Vintage. So
A free plugin for Foof.
for everyone.
For
And
nobody.
the truth is, it
Poof
really
gone.
was free, and it really was for anyone that could download it before, guess what? They pulled it. No word about it, nothing about it. If you click on the link that's here and anywhere else you happen to look, you end up with a can't be found warning. So they've pulled it. Now, we know when Robbie tried it and I tried it and lots of other people, there were all sorts of bugs in it. It was a bit of an odd thing to do, isn't it? Release a free plugin, which is great. Even if it is the B word, they released a free plugin. What's your take on this, Ken? Because I don't think you even looked at it, did you?
No, I didn't. Nothing I can say in public. It's like, I mean, I don't. There's probably a darkened room somewhere in the company where this was done for a very, very specific reason.
What would you hazard a guess at that being?
Well, that's the thing. I can't think of a reason
can.
at all. But I must admit, it might have been lack of communication. Who knows? But there might have been just to see the response, to a Behringer software synth.
A bit like lots of other people are doing at the moment, teasers. Mike, you think you can?
Oh yes.
Tell us.
Oh
do.
yes. I am not a user of those products. I have nothing against people who do. It's, as I've said many times on the show, it's personal reasons. I believe that Behringer remains very interested, committed, I'd even say, to providing a complete music experience for people who are doing this stuff. They sell guitars, they sell amps, they sell analog mixers, they sell digital mixers, they sell microphones. Hell, they even sell cables. The point is, the one thing that they haven't done anything, the one thing they haven't stuck a toe in the water with, is plugins. And they've got so much profit. They've got so many things coming in. They've undercut hardware every way they can, taking margin off and basically convincing a whole bunch of very young, very poor punters that, Behringer lets you do things that the big guys don't, and you can afford it. And if they start churning out plugins for, they're making interfaces for half the cost of anybody else's. They're making hardware synthesizers for half the cost of anyone else's. What happens if they start churning out sort of half decent maybe plugins for $5, $3 free? They could put out an entire line of software for nothing. And think of the damage it would do to companies like Cherry Audio. Right now, Cherry Audio is probably the biggest value in virtual instruments out there. There are some really good companies doing stuff for free, like Full Bucket. But everybody knows Cherry Audio. Everybody loves them. And there are other examples like that. But, how is a company like GeForce or, any of our other friends that we talk about all the time on this network, how are they going to survive if somebody like Behringer comes along and just starts giving away crap for free? So I think it was a very deliberate decision. Yeah, they weren't ready. They stuck a toe in the water. People have forgotten how buggy the DeepMind 12 was when it shipped, but they straightened that out pretty quickly. They made a mistake. I think they're going to do it again, and I personally believe they're going to flood the market. I think they're going to get all kinds of stuff out there. It's all going to be stupid cheap or free, and we will see the negative effects on the companies out there that are doing great stuff right now.
That's a very
depressing
and dark interpretation of what that might be, but it's possible.
The thing is, to keep up authenticity, how the hell are Behringer going to be able to make a software synth where the knobs actually break off really easy? How are they going to do it? To get that Behringer experience.
They're not going to clone their own stuff. Nobody wants a software clone of anything Behringer ever designed. No, they're going to make software clones of all the stuff they're already cloning in hardware.
So here's a thought. Whilst that might be true, it might be something which they would do, they have to be careful with that strategy. I've been doing a lot of consulting with some very large companies about shall we say AI and such like. How much do you take? How far do you take this thing? How many people's jobs do you put at threat? Because the answer is, with AI, I'll get to the point in a minute. With AI, you can do a lot more than people realise. But the point at which you do it, so let's just say your business is selling software to people. If you make it, and you've got real high net worth individuals buying it, you're aiming at a professional market. If you suddenly make all the functionality use AI to get a result that replaces those people's jobs, then you're essentially getting rid of the jobs of the people that are paying the funds that keep you in business. So Behringer have to be really careful with this. If that's their goal, they would have to be really careful. And furthermore, there's a lot of people already in the software side of this who are they've got a lot more experience. Not like the hardware side. These people really understand that it's about building ecosystems. Which brings me nicely to my next little foray into this world. So I'm just going to play you a little something. Let me just pop this up for you. Well, that goes on for a while. You can find that online, but the reason I mention that is because of this. Now, we had the Arturia on the week before last, the new AstroLab, the function of which is it essentially contains the analog labs by Arturia, the entire software, and lots of sounds and presets within the hardware, within the keyboard itself. So you can pick it up, go, and you can play all of those presets that are in AstroLabs, which is great. But it also gives you access, should you choose to use it and connect it to a laptop, PC, Mac, or whatever, to the whole of the Arturia library that it can connect with, and you can download versions of those sounds, those presets from the entire library into the AstroLab and play it there. Now you need to there are some caveats. You need to pay for parts of this, so you can't edit, for instance, some of the pigment sounds. You can run pigments. You can't necessarily run the full-blown version of it because the CPU would just blow up and die. But you can run pigments. You can run pretty much anything else you can think of. So this gives you all of the stuff in software and in hardware, and you don't have to have this keyboard connected to anything. You can just pick it up, walk it with you, go to the gig, and you've got your gig ready to go. So when we talked about it, we were talking about some of the sounds and things that you'd be able to do, and Robbie and Gear News, they've written a whole thing which I'm hoping someone's going to be posting the link to this in the Gear News website. There's a whole bunch of Analog V library presets and sounds, lots of people or lots of collections being put together for this, and you can audition. I mean, what's really cool is if you see all the different banks here, there's lots of different banks here. You don't have to buy them to audition. You can actually click on them in AstroLab, and you can audition properly on the keyboard. I think the first 10 or 15 or so of these patches, and you can see whether or not you like it, and if you do, then you go and buy it. It's a really clever way of having an integrated system that combines software, DAWs and hardware for live. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I haven't had a chance to look at the AstroLab yet. Justin Havu just came on board and said, "Hello, you nice people in the computer." He'll be hearing from my lawyers. But the thing I like about this is the fact that you...
And there goes Mike. So we'll just go back to young Kent and I
with
whilst
Dallas
he tries
again.
to find his way back in. So that's what he thought of it. What do you
There he
think of
is.
it? Is he back again?
Yeah, it's like the
We'll
Phantom,
get you back in,
isn't
Mike.
it?
Sorry.
It's like the Phantom, isn't it? With the rolling cloud. It's that scenario of being able to, take your plugins and load them into a machine and then take them with you.
It is. Let me just put it
Yeah,
this way.
sorry about that. That was my bad. But yeah, Kent, you may as well finish your thought.
Well, it's just it's clearly very much a performance machine for gigging,
Yep.
isn't it? To an old wrinkly agoraphobic like me, it's about as much use as an ashtray on a motorbike or a handbrake on a canoe. Although I just like that display, that knob display thing on it. I do like that.
Do you know, I do too. I really.
Yeah, I don't know why though. But just sort of like I like that.
It's
It
kind
looks
of
like
lost in-
Alexa.
It's a it's a lost in space thing. It's a circular display, and it's contextual, so it actually works. I thought it was going to be rubbish, but it actually works surprisingly well, and I could see myself using that for live.
Yeah.
Mike, you had a view on this.
Oh, I was just going to say I love the innovation of really using the cloud properly, of being able to download something and actually play it. And they let you get in for free. And for a lot of the people who are using AstroLabs, not being able to edit stuff in Pigments ain't a problem. I should also say, by the way, that those elevation sounds were gorgeous. I have Pigments. I don't use it. It's something I need to get back to. And stuff like that would really make me very, very, happy. It's a cool little synth. Everybody uses it. It sounds great. And I love the fact that as part of the AstroLab experience, Arturia is making it easy for those people who, as Kent said, just play and gig, to dip a toe in the water. And if they hear something they like, they grab it. And as their needs expand, their library expands. And if they get curious about how to edit this stuff, they have an easy way in. So I think it's brilliant. I think it's dead brilliant. I'd like to play one. I'm not enough of a good keyboardist to gig with one, but I would
didn't like to say that, but
Well, it's truth.
you mentioned it now.
Well, I did, and I say it. I regret nothing. But no, I think it's brilliant, and I'd love to play with one. I really would.
Yeah.
Thane MLH, hi Mike, says cloud-based. Does it mean in 5 years when when the cloud gets shut down, the instrument is useless? Well, no, because if you've downloaded all the sounds, then
that's the thing about this. All of those sounds reside in the hardware regardless. You don't have to have it connected online. It doesn't need to be connected online. And I think the difference, you mentioned Roland Cloud. The Roland Cloud is kind of the progenitor for an awful lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
The difference is the Arturia library is just so much bigger. With the best will in the world, I love the Roland sounds, but they are all Roland. This just this just goes that whole heap further, and there's a massive collection of this stuff. You'll never be left wanting if you've got all of it. And you can be working with that in the studio, and then as soon as you want, download it to your AstroLab and take it off, and you're there gigging. I really like the idea of it. I really do.
I must admit, I thought a progenitor was a sports car.
It is actually. It was the Armenian entry in Formula One from 1954 to 1956.
Yeah.
The
hammer-ons the works, mate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
We got away with that one, I think. So, as we're
Nobody died.
No one died this time. As we're talking about software and things, there's another little thing which I think, let's just make sure I've got the right one. Yes, I do. Have a listen to this. No, I think we've heard enough of that. So,
I have it right in front of me if people would like to hear anything else. That last one they did, the Ancient Bells Rhythm, I discovered and loved it. The interesting thing about the one before that, Sorrow, is that it doesn't use the main feature of this plugin. It's
so
just
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it a little. So, essentially, this is one of a growing trend of sound engines that are essentially trying to bypass the traditional electronic synthesize and or sample ways of doing things. In this case, it's doing it by resynthesizing. Resynthesis has been something that's been around for years. In fact, I believe it's what the Synclavier started out with. Was the Fairlight doing resynthesis as well? Was that his first thing?
The Fairlight was FM. Resynthesis came later.
Yeah, it's part of the Synclav.
Synclav. So, the point being that the goal with all of this stuff, and I'll just bring this up whilst we're talking, the goal of all of this stuff is to create new ways of creating sound. The starting points and or processing of sound. So I'm just going to bring this up here. And as you can see, there's this interface, and the way this works, as I understand it, I'm just going to try and make it a little larger. You can see here, Taman, we'll get rid of that. As you can see, we have essentially two oscillators, which can be samples which you just pull in and dump in there, and it then processes them by resynthesizing them in a whole bunch of different ways. You've got the controllers here on the left, and you have different effects and different algorithms you can use to process it. And then on the right here you have different different processes that you can add to it to make weird things happen. That's about as far as I've got. Mike.
Well, first of all, ASIO Head, thank you. The really famed early resynthesis machine was the Hartman Neuron, and that completely blanked on that. These things are. I love the interface. It's kind of weird, but it's fun because it doesn't actually go too deep. There isn't a lot of menu diving. Those two pretty patterns, which they call irises, which I think are kind of cute because Isotope no longer makes iris. What you don't see in this, what you could have seen in the animations, is that they actually have cursors which spin around those irises like the hands on a clock, and you can actually control where they go. It's kind of like wavetable synthesis, where you can choose where in the evolving sound you start and whether you go back and forth, how it's read back, and you can have two of these running at once. The thing I wanted to point out about that Sorrow patch you played is you noticed that both of those were grayed out. The other thing which you can do with those is there's a ton of little modules, filters, oscillators, other things that you can drop in to post-process those sounds. And what that Sorrow patch was demonstrating was that even without those irises, the modules that are built in, the synth modules, sound really good. So it's got a lot of potential, and the fact that it comes from Traction, I always root for the underdog, and Traction is just one of those companies that has this tiny loyal following and will not go away. And some of the plugins they've been doing recently are just so much fun, biotech and so on.
Right now, this is on special offer as well. I mean, Kent, have you looked at this? Is it of any interest?
No,
to
I
you
haven't
at
looked at this. Well, yeah, because I've always got interest in anything that has decent MPE support.
Oh, this one's great. One of the things that you didn't see is the setup thing that Andrew pointed out on the left. You can actually choose from a menu, not only generic MPE, but if you have an Osmos or a C-board, those come up pre-configured.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
you can do regular MIDI. Like on my Hydrasynth, the MPE setup isn't that useful because the Hydrasynth doesn't have any way of doing slide. But if you just use MIDI, this plugin understands poly aftertouch, and it's glorious. It really is. The articulation you can get is wonderful. So yeah, the MPE support and other support is great. And once you set it up globally, it remembers where you've put your controllers. So you can jump from patch to patch and not have things explode on you.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing, wouldn't you?
It's always
say?
handy. It is. Yeah, well, that makes it sort of for me sort of like, yeah, definitely getting it, because there isn't enough decent MP based plugins that Rowley can communicate with.
Yeah,
there isn't enough of them, you know.
There aren't, and this is a really nice. And right now it's what, £99.
So yeah, on special offer right now, it's on 99.95 pence. Special offer from Plugin Boutique, but they're doing something really quite unique. They're not doing a Mingy 7-day trial or a 14-day trial or even a 30-day trial. 90-day trial.
Yep.
That's
free.
Kind of, yeah.
All
complete.
Features, save your sounds, 90 days, 3 months to decide whether you want to buy it or not.
That's clever marketing.
That's a very, very good thing. So, you know.
Gotcha now.
We talked about a free plugin at the beginning of this plugin-y section, but now we've got one that actually is and actually works and is quite decent, and no one's frightened to say any of the words that are associated with it. So, Traction Dawsome Synth Myth. There we go.
And they talk a little bit about Dawsome is actually the name of the developer. And they've got a little bio about him on the traction.com website that's worth reading. And while you're there, take a look at some of the other stuff they have, because they've been producing some really interesting plugins lately.
Some great stuff there.
And their DAW, my God, I've been poking at Traction since version 1, and it just won't go away. There are people who adore it. It's got the weirdest. It's better now. It's closer to conventional now, but the first 3 or 4 versions just had the weirdest interface. It was, you know, it's like, well, that thing that looks like a boomerang has a movable crosshairs in it. Well, what
I
is
wonder
that?
what you were going to say then, Mike. That thing that looks like a boomer. Look, anyway. So they're a good. Yeah, they're a really good company. I hope though that I'm not looking at comments because I'm busy trying to find things at the moment. But hopefully someone's banged that up in the comments.
Yes,
have we
Ben
had any
has.
questions? Have we had any questions?
There have been a couple, but we've dealt with them. A piece of news came in from Synth Samurai that we may or may not want to deal with it.
So Moog will be at Super Booth.
And Lisa Belladonna will be demonstrating the Muse. And
I was going to come to that. Let's in fact, I'm going to come to that because there was one other thing I was going to get to. But let's talk about the Muse at the moment. So
let's please.
No one that's sort of sentient and alive and watching this show is unaware that Moog have been trailing this new instrument for a while now with pretendy Foley over. Oh gosh, it's got out. Normally, when you're doing a trail like this, you put up some nice sexy photographs. You do little hints so you don't quite see what it is. But no, this week they've had someone release an entire minute or two of them using it on a record. Listen to me, that sounds like...
but you say Moog.
Yeah, well, of course it's Moog. I know she says Moog. It's Moog.
Cows go moo.
Moog. It's Moog. So,
Moog.
So, the thing is, there's been a lot of discussion. A, that we couldn't hear it terribly well. And B, it looks a lot like either, the Deep Mind, dare I say, or the Juno 60. And what I was able to hear of it so far, which was really lo-fi, doesn't sound terribly Moogy. I'm not sure if they've shot themselves in the foot. Gentlemen, Kent, you first. You know a bit about Moogs.
I've seen 1 or 2. Yeah. What?
Go on. You must have seen the demo. You must have seen this demo.
I haven't seen the demo.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Mate, I stopped working about 2 hours ago.
Now,
I've been
not
flat
sure
out all week. I haven't seen it.
I'm not sure if I can show this without getting
a copyright strike.
Yeah. It's on... I mean, it's all over the place.
Mime
it's
it.
on... Huh?
Mime it.
Yeah, start,
Come on.
I'd
good.
appreciate it if someone could stick that particular demo
up
as
there.
A link. There we go. Is it there? If someone could stick that demo, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook,
and
it's
YouTube. Yeah.
On YouTube. So have a listen. I'd be really interested to hear what people think. Mike, have you seen that demo?
A tiny bit of it. I'm going to reserve judgment. You can't judge. This is the magazine editor and reviewer in me. You can't have any real conclusions from something like that. I was once asked to give my opinions of an $8,000 piece of monitors, an $8,000 pair of monitors, where one of them was set up next to a window, one of them was set up next to a 50-foot hallway. I was below the woofer sitting in a overstuffed couch, and right in the middle of the demo, a 450-pound DJ walked in front of me and sat down on a coffee table between me and the left speaker. And, what was I going to tell the guy? The stereo imaging is kind of weird. The point is, unless you get this thing in your hands under controlled circumstances, even if that's just having a listen on your own headphones without people bothering you, you really can't judge. I think
but we face this a lot, don't we, gents? We face this situation where we see things and we often say, yeah, but how can we tell? We don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like until we hear it. Now, someone here had, where are we? There we go. I think Thane MLH.
Yep, Mike Hunter.
Mike. Do you know what? That's been said a lot. I was I found it very uninspiring, but then I couldn't really hear much other than someone else's track that was kind of, and some playing, one of those, playing because he could. I wasn't deeply inspired by it, and I just wonder if by doing that kind of a demo, they haven't made it less appealing rather than more.
It's quite possible. I mean, the new parent company of Moog has not been a huge modern full-scale marketing force the way we're used to some other companies being. They have a lot of formerly independent, very different brands under their umbrella now, and I'm willing to bet that most of that stuff is built in the same factory. So it doesn't surprise me that in the look and the layout, it's not all that different from something from, say, Alesis or M Audio or Akai.
So, kissing the machine, you're right. It's the same for any synth we don't have in front of us. That's kind of the point I was making.
Yep.
Which is we often see things and it's kind of, I don't know if we'd need to hear it to find out. I think the difference here is this has been so eagerly awaited. A new thing from Moog is always eagerly awaited, and the fact that it's from Moog and you might be able to afford it, although we don't know, that suddenly makes it really intriguing. And then that sound, I mean, I've heard all the sounds I heard there. I've heard from Novation, I've heard them all over the place. Those sounds, I've heard them, Junos, I've heard all of those sounds from other synths, and I didn't hear anything in it that was particularly Moog. So I'm kind of left a bit sort of, so. Okay, I mean, you've seen the photographs previously, Ken. And you've seen some of it. Have you any further thoughts from when we last talked about this?
Well, it didn't exactly make anything particularly stiff at all. It's just, it's like you say, it's really hard to ascertain. I mean, you sort of kind of heard it. I've only just seen it, and it's sort of like, whatever. Not really.
There you have
jumping out.
The considered Spong opinion. The Spong opinion.
Yeah. If it ain't hard, it's not selling.
Yeah. So
kind of.
That's Moog, but they are going to be showing it. So as Mike pointed out, someone Synth Samurai very kindly posted that Moog will be at Super Booth this year with Lisa Benadola. Doing a Muse demo there. And so that will be an interesting time. Robbie will be there. We'll doubtless get to hear all about it.
And well, assuming Robbie gets a word in edgewise when I'm around.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, there is that.
I didn't like to mention that.
Yep.
But so that what I just thought we were talking before though about Myth, and prior to that about a whole bunch of other things. And I said, look, this seems to be part of a trend for new ways to try and create sound from the beginning. And the Myth thing, the Myth is there. It's free for, you get a free version of it for 90 days trial to try out.
Yep.
There was another free synth earlier, which we talked about, which is free, but it's no longer available, and we don't know why. And then we have this.
If you have no time and only one sample of a kind, can you still make a colorful soundtrack? Easily, if you have Random Machine. We created Random Machine to help you destroy the monotone, machine-like sterility of one-sample repetitions. We made it to bring a touch of chaos and a pinch of destruction to your creations and some real-life variability. Random Machine will bring your results within seconds. Just choose it if you want to randomize your sound's pitch, panorama or saturation, time, offset, space or combination of all 6 effects. Then tell Random Machine how far it can go. You'll get an endless number of variations with every Random Machine action. Random Machine works in 3 modes. The randomizing process can be triggered by the sound's transient or MIDI notes. And if you want to use it in music to humanize hi-hats or kicks, you can sync the sound changes with your project's tempo and notes. No matter if you do film or game sound design or make electronic music, take advantage of Random Machine's unpredictability and controlled chaos. Random Machine. Out of one, many. Get your 15-day fully working trial version at unitedplugins.com.
Wait a minute. Did you say out of one many, e pluribus unum? He just took the motto off the dollar bill? What the hell, man? And it's and a YouTube video of some NRA head emptying a 45?
Yeah, that was the first thing that grabbed my attention was in these times, with everything that's going on,
And it was
the
awful.
first thing you see is someone firing off a gun 5 times, and then they repeat it. It's kind of, really, is that the best you can do with this?
Well, but then they did stuff later, and I'm listening to it, and I'm going, so basically what this thing is it's a Band-Aid for people who don't want to play back the same hi-hat sample and have it sound the same every time.
Well,
and there have been
actually,
tools for that for 40 years.
if you go into it a little more, it does randomize a whole bunch of different things, and it randomizes it so it will change up the keys you're playing in, so it will take audio inputs, it will take MIDI, it will take a whole bunch of different things and samples, and then yes, it can play with the timing, it can play with the pitch, it can add distortion, it can move it around and pan it to give it, they call it giving it that human touch.
Oh, yeah, the human
So-
touch on the trigger.
But the thing is, we were just talking about Myth, which is, I think pretty well, it seems to be, in the chat, it seemed to be quite well regarded, and you seem to think a lot of it. And there's a lot of other things out there which are doing different things with sound, which give you a starting point. So for me, this is taking something you already have and just spicing it up, randomly spicing it up with controls like this. It's kind of interesting.
It is, but
kind of interesting.
might I suggest they do more with actual music in the marketing, because that video is such an unbelievable boner killer.
I got killed a couple of weeks back because I came on and I moaned about every video, because every video we saw, you didn't see the music being played, you just heard some music, you didn't hear what was actually being affected, you didn't get a sense of what it did. That's what this was. However, here's the other thing with this. Right now, for the next 2 days, I believe, let's just add this to the page. No, that's the that's the wrong one, so we'll get rid of that. For the next 2 days, if you go to Random Machine, let me try and bring this up. There we go, and present this here. Boom, there we go, WA Productions. Here we go. So, this, I'm just going to take this full screen. This is now being sold. If you go and download it here, you can buy it essentially. Well, not essentially, you can buy it for nothing. They're giving this away. You do have to go through a whole process. You will download it, but then you have to go through a whole process to be able to play it back, and you have to sign up to United plugins and a whole bunch of other things. But this is free, and it's being used to drive you to the site to buy lots of other things. Whenever you do go down this path of downloading it, it will try everything it can to get you to buy more. And they have some decent stuff there, but it is a marketing ploy. However, this is quite an interesting toy. Tell me, Ken, is this... I mean, I don't think this is your kind of thing at all, is it?
Taiko drums. But it's one of those plugins that basically it's a ghost plugin. if you can actually easily hear it working, you've done it wrong. It's supposed to be done in a way where you don't actually hear what it's doing. It's one of those. Yeah, I mean, you know, when you've got a repeat on a pretty stale, static sample, it does help to be able to bring in a bit of randomization to liven it up a bit. So it has its uses, but I can only think of maybe one or two uses that I could think of off the top of my head that I would use it for.
And again, I want to hear what it does.
Yeah.
A bit like, you know.
So, you know, if you can buy it for nothing, yeah,
you can get it for nothing.
Yeah, I can go down, you know, down that drain pipe and, you know, be placated left, right, and centre, and have me bits felt until I finally get it and walk away from it and go, right, bye.
Here's the thing. I remember when you know, in studios, big studios, taking sometimes drum machines, and you just go, God, it would be nice to have a bit of a human feel. And sometimes I'd bring in a drummer and say, play the hi-hats and do the cymbals and stuff just to give it that bit of feel.
Yeah.
But we used to often just put something through one of the time modulators, really, really, really subtle time modulation, then bang it into a lexicon, which had its own, you know, thing. And as soon as you started hearing the lexicon or the time modulation, you'd gone too far.
Yeah,
but it would just add us something which did seem to humanize it. This seems to be doing something similar to that. Mike?
Well, I'm in the process of downloading it at the moment. I don't think I'll have it installed by the end of the show. But you know, the main thing I'm noticing is it's like any other place. They're trying to sell you stuff. By the way, they have 5 other free plugins, and if you're willing to go through all this, they're there. I have no idea about any of them. You know, I'll risk free, and I'll give it a try. You know, this adding waffle. I mean, I can do that just by playing badly. So I get what they're trying to do, and I want to know what they're going to charge for it. I want to know how much it's going to cost. Because, yeah, for the next 48 hours, it's free. I just downloaded it.
It's free forever. If you download it now, it's free forever. The whole deal here is...
But my question is, are these... And by the way, this is... Somebody was saying, is this Warm Audio? And no, it's WA Productions, which is different. I'm going to try it. You know?
I mean, there could be actually a way of creatively using this where you do push it right the way up.
Oh yeah, I was going to say this is one of those things that you want to break.
Yeah,
you just want to do stupid stuff with it and see. You know, I mean, honestly, when we heard the gunshots, and then I was like, are they going to turn this into a Blade Runner lead patch? And and it's just like, oh great, they put flanging and reverb on it. What? So, I
can see game developers going nuts for it, to be honest.
Well, unfortunately, yes. And that's a big market these days.
So, we've covered a lot of software. Do you want some hardware news?
Good
yes,
God,
please.
So
from a company that is in chat, that got in chat about 10 minutes ago.
Did they?
Yes, they did. I was going to ask that we segue directly to them, but I didn't want to force you to jump out of order. But yes, the guys from ISLA Instruments are in the chat. Hi, guys. Love you.
So, with your permission, Brandon, I'm going to play your video, or a bit of your video, because ISLA dropped this literally an hour before we went on air. And if you've not seen this, this is something they talked about in the last time they were on the show. And that was a really good show. We loved that. We loved having them on. They're great guys. And they talked about a DSP card they were thinking of doing or going to do for the S2400. They came up with this. Now, we're not going to get muted, gentlemen, so I'm just going to play this, and I'm going to play it from a certain point where it has been already... he's explained some of this stuff already, and he's just about to play back on the S2400 some of the arrangement he's just done using this new effects system, the new DSP chip. So here we go. And as soon as I can find it, where are we? There we go. Going to go full screen and check this out. I'm going to take this forward a little. And you know what? I'm going to stop it there for a moment because you need to watch this whole video. It's on YouTube now, it's on ISLA Instruments, and you can actually pre-order this. So I'm just going to come out from here for a sec, because here's the thing. Brad and Rob have built this brilliant thing for the S2400, and it's a DSP card which allows you to load up VST, LV2 and clap plugins and run them directly on the card. So you're able to run. Go on.
No, I was just, it was like, oh, it's a clap. I was thinking like it was going to be the S1200 clap sound.
No. So
and I'm thinking
it's different plugin formats. So essentially you can run, I think it's got 8 different effects channels that you can run at the same, or groups as it were, plus a stereo mix, plus a master bus, each of which can have gazillions. I think it's 8 different effects running. You can reorder them, you can change different things, you can use the front panel to affect how much the sends are, you can pick out different parts of each plugin and expose them on the panel, so you can control maybe the amount of threshold on the compressor with one knob, and then in the same bank you can control the reverb length and or the delay time. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. But it's suddenly, if you watch the whole demo, and I was rather hoping Brad might find the time. I know he's been busy with his daughter and various other things. He's a busy man. He's got family to look after. I was hoping he might be able to jump on and give us a better explanation. But if you watch the video, you will see this has suddenly taken the S2400 from what was already a pretty amazing machine to something that just becomes an astonishing live performance thing. And most importantly, I think, one of many most importantly is not only does it do it for all the samples you've got and the tracks you have running within the S2400, but you can use it live, so you can actually use a live input and put a whole stack of effects, and these are all the plugins which already exist, and there's some more being written specifically for it. It's an astonishing thing. It's available on pre-order if you go to the ISLA website, which I'm hoping someone's going to pop into. There we go. Ben, thank you for doing that, mate. It's an astonishing thing. We're hoping to get Brad and Rob to come onto the show, even if not today, then they're going to come on again sometime soon, because there's a lot of news coming from them, and there's a lot of good stuff coming out from them. And I have to say, the video itself is actually quite brilliant. It does rather reel you in. You did a great thing with that, young Brad.
They should do the video for the random machine.
Yeah, he should do videos for a lot of other people. But no, this is a really good thing. And the fact that you can play, they've developed their own card, which is essentially a Linux computer. It's an entire embedded Linux system, which can run multiple instances of VST plugins. Ken, what do you think about this?
Well, I still want to get one of these.
Yeah, so do I.
It's definitely on my cards, but unfortunately I have been told that it's Mustang first. Okay, I'll get the Mustang sorted first. No, I love this for a couple of reasons. I like this way of working. I do like this way of working, but probably even more so is the fact that because the guys sat down and put in the time and designed this, means that I hardly ever have to repair the original counterparts, which I hated working on.
The SP1200s.
Yeah, with a passion. I hated working on them. They're horrible, horrible things to work on. And all that work is pretty much dried up now, mainly, I think, because of this. So I thank them for that. And would they please consider making the Prophet 5 Rev 2 as well? So I don't have to work on them freaking things anymore either.
It's funny you should mention that. They're actually bringing out a Prophet... No, they're not. But who knows? We're going to get them back in on the show because they've got a lot of really cool, super cool stuff coming. And, they only make a small number of things at a time. But, God, the thought that's gone into this... I remember when we had them on and they were talking about having the effect card here. And, one of the things they managed to fix was getting Mike back into the stream. That's how good that effects card is. You'd have thought they'd have had a filter on, wouldn't you?
Bloody hell.
That was terribly British of you.
Oh, it's just, never mind. Sorry about that.
It'll be spelling colour with a U in it next.
Let me.
So this card and this machine, the S2400 with this card, is a game changing. It's just such a well built, clever piece of engineering. What do you think, Mike?
I love it. I absolutely love it. This is I have a couple of questions, but just the potential for being able to run these plugins live in a portable, robust hardware setup that I'm assuming you can control externally in various ways.
You can control it on the machine itself. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they've got MIDI assignment, but I'm sure they would. But you can control the plugins directly on the machine. You can assign faders and knobs per bank.
How do they do copy protection?
What do you mean?
I mean, if you're installing a plugin, if the plugin is copy protected, how do you install it?
That's a question for them. I think they've given that some thought already. I know they are having some... they're having talks with various plug-in manufacturers whom we'll all know.
Yep.
But we're not going to get into that now.
No, we're not.
But I think there are I think they've got that covered one way or the other.
Well, I love it. I love it. I think it's a great idea and it looks so much fun.
And apparently you can just stick your plugins, I take it's the DLLs, on a thumb drive, plug it in the back, ingest them through, and away you go.
And I'm assuming it's got a reasonable amount of memory to hold things like samples?
I can't remember what the memory is, and I'd hate to say it and sound like...
No, it's fine. I'm wondering, because if it'll run Mtron Pro...
where are we?
Excuse me, folks.
Mtron Pro. You're talking about a VST instrument rather than a VST effects plugin. This is for effects, specifically for effects.
Oh, darn. Well, I still love it.
But more about that another time. So,
hey.
Let me just come back to this a second, because I'm going to take that out and I'm going to bring up this instead. Where are we? Share screen. Bang. Come on. Share. Thank you. There we go. So this is the card. Let's go full screen on this. this is the card, and as you can see, they're planning to ship starting July of this year. They're taking pre-orders now. There is that video is really good. I really like it. And they've got a whole bunch of other stuff coming. And it's $549. Now, some people might think that's expensive, but you've essentially got a whole computer with not an unlimited, but as far as this machine goes, it's pretty bloody impressive. You can run so many versions of plugins. It's stupid. It's really stupid how much you can do with this. I just, I'm going to go and kidnap Brad, I think, until he agrees to give me an S2400 for a mere
20 quid.
£1 off of whatever it is, because he's an independent manufacturer, and I
know.
can't ask him to give me anything like this. You sometimes can ask those favours, but no, this is such a good thing. I really want this. Kemp wants one. I want one. I think Robbie's got one, hasn't he?
I don't think even Robbie knows whether he's got one or not.
Well, there is that.
Yeah. But this is a good thing. This is a good thing. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And so hardware, yeah, I believe we're going to be having Brad and Rob on. That's something which doubtless we'll arrange with Robbie, maybe when they've got a little more to say. But they've done this video. I really heartily encourage you to go and have a look at it. And we haven't talked enough about weird things today, have we?
Well, is this a bad time to raise a question while the guys from ISLA are here?
If they're in the chat, yeah, do.
I'm just wondering if there's an updated timeline on the Kaladan.
We're going to have them on the show.
Okay.
It's for them to tell us all about.
Of course. But just, I'm really eager.
As is everyone. Let's get them on the show, and they can tell us everything they wish to tell us.
Absolutely fantastic. Love it.
It's worth hearing.
Oh,
I
yes.
have to tell you. But I can't tell you any more than that.
No, of course you can't.
So, yeah.
Bastard.
Yeah.
For those in the chat, this is the Steve Austin setting.
We can rebuild it. We can make it better than it was. More stable. Less cranky.
There's a lot of hidden software features on a memory Moog for doing certain tests and stress testing and stuff like this. This one stress tests the front panel LED controllers.
Kent, isn't there a generalized stress test called playing it?
No, it's called turning it on.
Yeah, for the Moog.
My bad.
For the memory Moog, it's turning it on.
Yeah.
So
what I do, I subject them to absolute abuse for about 3 weeks, and if they get through it, they're good for another 15, 20 years.
Wow.
You mean another?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, when they're done, these buggers don't come back.
No, because they explode and take out the client with them.
The Kent touch does rather tend to sort things out for good.
It's kind of like, you remember the Lintronics ones?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, what I do is kind of along those lines, but I don't lean so hard onto the software. And what I do is actually make the actual hardware more stable.
How do you do that, Kent?
There are certain things you can do. Like any machine, when they're being developed, sometimes a company has to cut corners. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, when you auto-tune the memory Moog, it goes through a series of resistors that are 1% tolerance to get the capture range of each VCO, and then the computer can pull them into where they're supposed to be, as long as they're within that capture range to start with. But what I do is I put very, very, very tiny tolerance resistors in instead, so that the CV going to the cards is absolutely on the nose. And then the capture, so they're always within the capture range. It's almost impossible for them to get out of it.
So
it's
are you saying
always
that 1%
6-tuned.
is too wide a capture range?
Well, the thing is I think even Lintronics were the same. They didn't think of changing these ICs out, and after 45 years, their tolerances are all over the shop.
Yeah.
You see, so you would do this thing where you hit auto tune and go 6 tuned, yay, hit it again. 5 tuned, oh, hit it again. 6 tuned, yay. You know, it just never knew. So, and replace all the trimmers, some of the key analog switchings.
So basically what you're telling me is that the crapitude of the memory Moog is not innate. It is a matter of nurture. And when you nurture one of these things, it nearly kills you, but it makes the memory Moog live forever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like with...
And I do the same with the CS80s.
Exactly. How many have you done now? 600?
Just about 640 of them now. So
of the 800 that were made.
Yeah, there's about 750 to 800, something like that. So there's not many more to go.
So it's the Kent Spong 80 is what it actually is.
KSR 80, yeah, KSR 80s. They are
love it.
They're worth serious money because they don't fall over.
Because they work.
And they don't go out of tune. I still get emails from people for ones I did back in 2001, and they go, oh, they'll send me a happy birthday email or something. Go, happy birthday, still in tune.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
So, Robbie's not here, which means we're missing an essential chunk of the show, which is his.
You shouldn't call him a chunk.
Well, no, he's a chunk. He's a chunk.
He is a chunk.
He has an unnatural obsession with a certain form of synthesis, and he wanted us to show this. Yes.
Well,
so
I hope Robbie stocked up on tissues.
Well, it is a bit like that. I mean,
I just and the thing that got me is it comes with a controller, which is so, or you can get a controller for it, which is just so cool.
They make that controller.
Yes. And that's what really makes it brilliant. I mean, yeah, you get the entire without it, you get the entire DX7 experience of a little tiny damn display, and
it's not a DX7. It is the TX816. It's 8 of the buggers.
But you still get the user experience of one knob and one tiny display. That's the main thing.
Well, actually, you also, because they make what's the other thing they make, Kent? The controller for it.
DT7.
DT7. That's the one. The DT7. So that means you have control over. You can have a one knob per function control over each of these modules. So the two of these things to get, you've got that. You've got this box. Where are we? I'm in the wrong page. So we have this box, which is essentially this box with about as many controls or things on it, but it's all done with this display instead, and with this single wheel which you can tap and nudge and twist and do whatever with. It gets you there. It gets you 8 DX7s. That's what it gets you. Now, I don't know how much this is going to be, and it's not being terribly forthcoming here. I think, as far as I know,
less than an actual TX816.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe a lot less than a TX816.
Well, that won't be hard.
That's sort of my point.
Yeah. Now,
So technically speaking, you plug one of these into the back of a M8X, and you've got a bit of a DX1 going.
you've already got that. You've got a DX1 into into an M8X, did you say?
Yeah.
Well, it's already got the FM engine, so we've already got the DX1.
Yeah, I guess so.
And
I never think of it like that.
And the converters are probably as good or better than a DX1's.
The DX1's converters were pretty good. The same
They
with the
were.
5.
They
The same
were.
with the 5.
But-
Damn
but-
sight better than the 7.
And that's my point. It's, you're going to get the DX1 level of quality too.
Well, one would hope so. Now, the thing is, I can't see how much this is going to be, so I'm assuming this is going to probably be a crowd-funded something. It is interesting, though, because I always... I liked the TX816s when I was in the studio. I liked having them there. They were a really good... workhorse.
They are, and they're very powerful. They're feature laden. No, I think they're great.
Kent, you're not necessarily the world's greatest FM fan, are you?
I dabble.
You dabble.
I'm a dabbler.
So what do you think this would be going for? What do you think this is worth? Essentially a TX816 in a foot pedal almost size box.
It's really hard to say.
Now Robbie's had his hands on this, and I think his conclusions is it's FM. What's he going to say? But I must confess, I do rather like the look of it. And it does seem to do everything you want a TX816 to TX816 to do.
I would say, based on the general current market, it's got to be somewhere between $299 and $499. I would have thought.
Right. On that note, I am going to share this with you. If I can get my shizer together. There we go. $399. No, that's the DT1000. That's the wrong thing. Now, that was supposed to be it, but clearly it's not. There we go. So, I've no idea. I've still got no idea. There we go. Buy now, not available yet. So, it is going to be a Kickstarter. It's going to be a Kickstarter thing. So, we'll just have to wait and see. I'd quite like to try this. I have to say, I'd quite like to get this in and have a look at it. Is it something that would interest you? What kind of price would interest you, Mike, for this? You're muted. Okay. Well, we're going to carry on without Dr. Mike. So, no, he's still not getting his audio up.
No, sorry about that. I muted myself because I had to do something in the background with my computer audio. Actually, I have to say, it's that box has no appeal for me at all. But that box with the controller, I was never an FM fan, and it's not because of the user. It's not because of the sound. I've actually owned a number of FM synths. It's the user interface. It's just too hard to work with.
Yeah.
And, and this is coming from somebody who's owned several Yamaha DXs and the only FM synthesizer in the world that's harder to program than a Yamaha DX. So, I'm actually, it is intriguing to me in a way that most FM stuff isn't. And if it really is using the DXED engine, that's a great sounding thing. And 8 of them, yeah, I could see it. And, however much it ends up costing, we'd have to see. But,
Well, here's a couple of other little things to throw in, some more hardware, which is kind of interesting. So there seems to be, again, another sort of plethora of people doing all sorts of...
Plethora.
A plethora.
Plethora.
Yeah.
A plethora of people doing all sorts of weirdnesses with things that they ought to know better about. No, there's a lot of people making small multi-tracks, shall we say, or drum machines, portable things. Now, I'm just going to share this with you because this is kind of interesting. And here we go. Let's get this up. It's just, look at this, it's solid, isn't it? So, rainy day, hailstorm, percussion sequencer. So, I don't know much about this. This is a Robbie one he threw at us. But it seems to be something, it's a 4-voice drum synthesizer, which you're reading with me. Sample player.
The video, if you can play that little video, it's actually quite nice. It's a playthrough showing how the controls work.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure if I can without getting a copyright strike.
Oh, darn it.
What do you think, Robbie?
You should be able to run that.
Let's give it a go then. Stop that there. I mean, from what I can see, I'm just going to pull us out of this for the moment. From what I can see, this looks like something that belongs in a module put into a box, which you can bring out and then connect it to other things, and you know, it's reasonably interesting. You've looked at it, Mike. What's the story?
Well, the story is that, and this has been around since the dawn of MIDI. Rhythm machines are static, and people are always looking for ways that you...
Listen, before we go too much further, however, I've got a certain someone wants to come and join us for the last 20 minutes of the show I have.
Oh, well...
Would you mind
No.
if we
Yes,
give
yes.
a big welcome to Mr. What's his name? Sharon something. Sharon? Hang on.
Sharon Broadstairs.
Sharon Broadstairs. How are you,
Oh,
Sharon?
my gosh! Brett Holland!
Hello, Mike. How you doing?
What are the odds, man?
Hello,
It's so
Andrew.
good to
Hello,
see
Tim.
you.
Thanks for calling me Brandon earlier, Andrew.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm a
Anthony,
twat.
that's nice of you.
I can't. Well, I got you Sharon now, so...
Yeah, well,
Brad,
it's all good.
did you see any of what we blethered about?
I was kind of catching back up with it. I was picking Isla up from school, so we were watching it together.
Well,
and
we all loved it.
Thank you.
Tell
Yeah,
us more.
No, well, one of the things that I wanted to address is, Mike, you asked a question about Kaladan and wanted to know where we're at with Kaladan. And so I find it so incredibly difficult to do those videos. There's like probably an hour's worth of blooper reels of me going... and that's what I've got to do next. So the Kaladan is now about to head off into production for its, you know, what we hope is going to be the pre-production, you know, the mass production event, our final prototypes. But something that's going to become apparent in the video is that we sort of did a bit of an about face, and I'm kind of speaking directly to your question here, Mike, Kaladan, if you remember on the last live stream we did with you guys,
Where I bought one.
Right, exactly. Thank you very much. We were touting that to be able to do sound font playback and SFZ playback, so because it had a digital side as well as the analog cards. Obviously, with the S2400 DSP thing, we've sunk a lot of resources. It's been quite late in getting this up to speed, and it's cost an extortionate amount of money to get where it is.
Almost
And we put a lot
£35,
of
I
resources into
understand.
it. And kind of halfway through the project, I realised, well, really, this whole thing that we've done here can be used as the backbone platform for Kaladan. So previously, like I said, Kaladan was just going to have sound font playback, but now Kaladan, as a result of using this as the backbone, will also be able to host VST instruments as well as the plugins. So I'm giving you a bit of an exclusive there, but most of that I want to leave for the video that I do about
Brad,
Kaladan.
that's all.
But
I have one question, and that's all I need. How much sample memory will those instruments be able to access? Do you have any idea?
most likely it'll either be a 4 gig or an 8 gig RAM configuration.
Marvelous, thank you. Because you know me, I always have to have as many Mellotrons as possible.
Right.
And so if this thing can do Mellotron, then I'm like so happy.
Yeah, okay. Mellotron.
GeForce M-Tron Pro, please.
I love Dave's play. Dave's such a lovely
Yeah,
bloke.
so
He really is.
put that in it, and I will buy you flowers and pizza for the next 10 times I see
I'll
you.
have to get on to Dave and make him, do one that fits our interface better than just loading the standard plugin in. But
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Ken,
Yeah.
what do you? I mean, this is all. So, in fact, before I come to Brad, just tell us again.
Ken,
so
is that memory Moog all right?
Yeah,
Behind you,
it's
or-
having an LED stress test.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah. No,
See, I'm
it's
finding
having
it
a
very
stroke.
hard to concentrate because somebody really needs a new Minimoog front panel,
Right.
don't they?
Oh, me? This one?
Yeah.
Well, I actually got one from that dude in Argentina. I've got 3 of these.
Yeah,
This is one that we just finished, and I kind of like the patina of this old grill because it's a brand new wood enclosure.
yeah,
But then there's another one that's a bit older, that's a bit more special, that's got the walnut, and I've got one that's in zebra wood. Zebra wood.
yeah.
I'm
Zebra
become American.
wood.
I know, I've become
Zebra.
No,
American now.
I was calling it zebra as well.
But on this one, I didn't want to. Yeah, I got one of those aluminium faceplates from the dude in Argentina, and they're really beautiful.
Yeah,
But I felt on this one it looked a bit nicer because it wasn't too hammered, so it looked a bit nicer, retaining a bit of its old stuff, but with a new cabinet.
yeah.
Nice.
We just finished the 8 voice. We just finished the Rev 2 Profit. We've just
Kill
done
it with fire.
We're firing through all of these old dead synths that we got from that thing there.
Yeah.
Brad, tell us a little bit more about that card and for the 2400.
What do you want to know?
Well, let me. So we had a quick chat before the show,
Yeah.
and I think the video you go into a whole bunch of stuff. Just give us a rundown of what the card brings, because the 2400 comes without any effects at all, and you thought, well, we'll do this.
Yeah.
So what does it add to the 2400?
All right. So as I kind of said in the video, internally you've got like 32 sampler tracks, and you've got your live loop tracks, and they all get mixed down, and you can choose any one of the 8 outputs that the S2400 already has, and then we sum all of those outputs, analogs, sum those into a main mix. What the card does is it bridges the gap between the 2 PCBs that are in the machine. One of them is the CPU board, and the other is the output board that's got the DAC on it, and then all the 8 analog outputs. Our card straddles the digital connections. It's called serial audio interface connections, like a high-speed serial or serial data audio connection, and it interprets all of those pre-mixed 8 outputs. And at that point, that's where we can start inserting our plugins. I heard one of you saying about dropping DLLs onto the SD card. Not quite.
How does it work?
So, when you talk about things like VST and LV2 and Clap as plugin formats, they're platform agnostic. Much thanks to platforms like Juice, which is a development library, which most of the plugin developers are using these days. DLL is obviously a Windows-specific format, dynamic link library. So plugin formats are agnostic from the actual platform that they run on. So when you're using a platform like Juice to export plugins, you can build or compile those plugins for different formats. So for different architectures, sorry. So a perfect example would be to say that you've got a VST plugin for a Mac or a VST plugin for Windows. So it's the same plugin format, but it's a different processor architecture. So similarly, our thing here runs on ARM, which is obviously a really growing architecture. It's, iPads using a derivative of ARM processors.
Brad, could you turn up at all a little?
I could, but then you're going to start here because you're on these great big event monitors.
Okay, in which case, don't worry. Carry on.
Yeah, I'll just sit a bit closer so you can see all my spots.
You spotty thing.
So our platform is based on ARM processor architecture, and a 64-bit ARM processor running a specific Linux distribution. Now, there are already a lot of Linux musicians out there that are using things like Ardour and Bitwig. Loads of guys are running Ubuntu now, but most of those people are running Linux on an x86 processor architecture. So they've got a PC and they're running Linux on it, or they've got a Mac and they're running Linux on it. So the whole point with what we're doing here is the guys that are developing plugins, and as I allude to in the video, we're talking to a fair bunch of... You're all going to know who they are, but I'd be an idiot if I'd like, oh yeah, we're working with these guys. They just simply really need to just recompile their plugins to work for ARM64 Linux. So it's not too difficult, but just to speak to what you said earlier about just copying your DLL files from your Windows installation.
It's not quite that.
That's not going to work. Somebody also spoke about, I think it was you, Mike, you raised a question about security and
just how do you install stuff that's copy protected?
Right, so a lot of the stuff out there, especially, thankfully, at the moment, for Linux and stuff, there's a lot of really good stuff out there that's just free and open source.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds
God
and
love 'em.
thousands of plugins that you can just go crazy with and dump them on your SD card.
Yeah, there's always going to be some guy who really wants this one commercial plugin.
Right. Now, and that's where I'm talking to a few known commercial developers. So to put those guys, because that question has been raised by them, and there's some of these third-party developers will want to have their own, they want to sell the plugins for the S2400 themselves, so we don't have to be involved with that, and that's great because it just makes the ecosystem bigger, and they've got an incentive to roll off plugins for our platform.
Does it also, and that's going to carry over to things like the Kaladan, isn't it? Because you've now got a unified platform.
Exactly. Now,
oh hell, I'll wait another year for that.
Well, so because obviously these are a system on a chip, essentially, they all have what's called a UUID, which is a universal unique identifier, I believe. So every chip processor that's on these things has their own big hashed number that uniquely identifies this machine. In its most raw and simplest form, someone goes to X person's website to purchase a plugin. You press a button on the S2400 to bring up your serial number of your processor. You give that to the company and they prepare the download for you that will essentially only work if it sees that you're the processor that plugin was compiled for.
So how many effects?
Which sounds a bit messy, but
no. It actually makes
really no
it makes a lot of sense. It's very neat.
A serial number into the plugin on the other end, Whereas when you install it on the S2400, you won't have any challenge and response. The plugin was downloaded, prepared for your.
No, it's brilliant.
And how many plugins can you actually run simultaneously on the 2400? Do you know?
I'm going to sound like an idiot now, but I don't actually know yet because I haven't stressed it out that much.
That's always a good answer.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's a really good answer. It's like,
don't know.
we haven't hit our limits yet.
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a lot going on in that little project that I did there, and I really, in hindsight, as I watch it back, I wish that I'd have shown so much more that I had running in there. But I mean, I was running bunches and bunches of plugins on a PC in 2006. On a Pentium 4, and this is like a quad-core 1.5 gigahertz. ARM is infinitely more.
It's the RISC architecture, so it's so much more. It runs so much more efficiently.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think that's necessarily going to be too much of a problem, given that the S2400 itself doesn't have unlimited tracks and all of that. So. We'll see. There's always going to be someone that's going to be running wanting to run 15. Big Sky reverbs.
There's going to be somebody. There's going to be somebody out there who's going to be wanting to produce the next, Industrial Light and Magic soundtrack.
But the really good thing is that this is using plugins that people will know, and you can. There we go, and you can download these onto the 2400.
Yeah.
So. It's a different way of doing it. It's something that other people have tried to do. There have been machines where people have tried to run VSTs and various other things.
The Muse receptor.
Yeah, I remember that. I gasped for that so bad. I was reasonably young at the time. I was like in my early
I reviewed
20s,
it.
so I couldn't afford it. But
I reviewed it. It was a great idea, but it was way before the times of the resources. Yeah. What you're doing right now is really up to the standard of what we have available now.
I think that's what it is. It's with the times right to be able to do it now. That's
it is. And with the 2400, it suddenly becomes an entire production system. And I loved right at the end of your video the fact that you're playing. By the way, you can play guitar, man. Jeez.
I discovered that by accident as well.
Yeah, by accident.
Because these are the things that was never in the remit or the spec. And I was messing around, and I had my guitar plugged in, and there was a ground hum coming through it because I'd unplugged my guitar to move it out my way. And then all of a sudden, I hear this massive reverb on the ground hum. And I'm like, oh shit, it's putting plugins on the light. Oh yeah, of course it is. All these things just sort of...
So you can use it for live processing. That's your Hall effects board right there.
Yeah, can you believe that? It was always there. We just never
thought
about using it in that context. And
happy coincidences. Yeah. So listen, I just want to. There's one other thing I really do need to get out of the way today, and I'm so glad you're here, Brad. And thank you for coming on and doing that. Will you? First of all, will you come back on later on to give us a much more in-depth exposition of the whole thing, maybe closer to the date when you're launching, which is July, is that right?
Yeah, well, this is going off, the PCB itself is going off for mass production now, while we're sort of in that cram period of nailing down the software. And now I have a bit of more breathing space to build some more relationships with other third-party plugin developers. We're not plugin developers, and we don't really want to get too involved. We're having a couple of specific things plugins developed for it, for like live effects, like I've mentioned in the video. But we're not plugin developers, and we're not going to sit there releasing all of these things, especially when there's already loads of good plugin developers out there. And I'm not talking about things like Native Instruments and Spectrasonics and stuff.
Well,
like that. I'm talking about indie and smaller.
Earlier in the show, we talked about a hardware company that was trying to get involved in software plugin development, and it didn't work out that well.
Right, yeah. That's not our game. It's not our game.
So, I'm going to we're getting close to the end of the show here. There is one more item I really do need to bring up, and, I'm sure you're going to be, equally supportive of this young Brad. Today is the birthday of a very special person, Dom Hawkins, who sadly left us last year. He was an inspiration, and as you know, Sophia and Lula May, who've been left behind, they and the wonderful Margaret have been selling off the goods, the studio stuff from Dom's studio. There is still some goodies left, there have been some reductions, and I just wanted to point this out. I'm sure we'll get a link somewhere up on the show.
I'm
but
pretty sure Ben will post it, but yes, there's still a fair bit left.
There's
Some
still
really
quite a bit on
nice.
that list, yeah.
I'm gonna bring that list up right now,
Please.
because there's some real goodies in here. Here we go. I'm just gonna bring this up. So where are we?
There's all of the culture vulture stuff on there, and it's
Oh, that stuff is awesome.
So look
and
at
that
this.
Earl mothership, if you've ever wanted a really, really pro A to D, D to A
I
system,
wanted to know what modules that's got in it, though. It's unfortunate the list doesn't show, because obviously the Burl mothership's quite modular.
Well, you can feel free to
Yeah.
email and find out. I'm sure we can find out for you as well.
Yeah, I had
But
a
there's-
couple of emails with Nick and Margaret.
There's still a lot here.
Right,
It would be really good to get some of this stuff bought as well, because this is all funds going back to Sophia and Lula May, and some of the prices here are just ridiculous. Just so good.
MKS 80 for 2,400 quid
Yeah.
is nuts.
It really is.
Well, that'll be sold now. You've just said that, Mike. Yeah.
No, they're such
It
good
is a
instruments.
good price, yeah.
All
They
all
are.
that Roland stuff is good. I wish I could buy, but it would lose the money to send stuff to me
There's
over
a
here.
Prophet 6 here. There's a sequential Prophet 6 for 1,680 quid. There's, there's
All the
API
launch
channel
box stuff
strips.
there.
Those channel strips, my God, they're wonderful. They sound really,
He's
really
got
good.
drummers. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah, 104 quid for a DSO1. My goodness. Pair of Dyne Audio BM6As for 640 quid.
That's
I use
nuts.
Dyne Audios. I use Dyne Audios a lot. They're good. There's still a lot of stuff left. So look, can I just encourage you all, as you can see here, can I just encourage you all, the Strymon Dig?
He must have been hoarding all of this stuff as well, because you never really saw that on his camera, did you?
No, you didn't.
He was hiding it all from
Yeah, finding stuff
It's
all over
not
the
what
house.
you've got, it's how you use it. Like, all right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
tons of good modular, including an ornament in crime, which is not exactly the easiest thing to get.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, has this been posted? Has this list, the link, been posted in the chat?
I have not seen it go by. Ben?
Right,
Yeah,
well,
it's
I'm
I've
popping
got
it
the
in
link.
there now.
I don't know if it was emailed privately or not. I'm sure it's okay.
There we go.
There we go. There we go.
You've got
3
it.
of them.
There we are.
There you go.
There. You're seeing 3 because it's going out to the
Oh,
feeds.
duh.
So, I'm just going to stop sharing that for the moment because that is, there we go. So, this is for Sophia and Lula May. Dom was an extraordinary man, a very gentle, caring, wonderful soul. People always say when people have gone that, they do anything for anyone. Dom did.
Dom was
did.
amazing.
I never met him. I spoke to him once or twice, but I've just picked up on him from everyone here
Oh,
in this
yeah.
chat. So please, if I know things are tight, but there's some really good deals here. It would really help Sophia and Lula May be able to move on. Well, they need to get this stuff sold. So please do have a look at the list, and if you can, get some of that bought. Okay.
Yeah, it's.
And in the meantime, happy birthday to Dom, wherever you are, mate.
Yeah.
I really
well,
regret not filming him when he came round to look in the garage. He came round specifically. He goes. I keep hearing about this garage. I want to see this garage. And Richard Hilton was here as well. And he goes, yeah, I want to see it as well. Come on then.
I saw that photo, Ken.
Oh, mate. He'd just come out of the garage and he was like, oh my God. I didn't know there would be things like that. And so many of them. My God.
As the
haven't-
actress said to the
Geezer,
bishop.
I
Yeah.
want to go to Ken's garage.
Yeah. He goes, you got a Publison Infernal Machine in there. Oh, my God.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh,
With the keyboard.
Those are nice.
I want one of those.
Yeah,
But
with
look,
the keyboard, mate.
We're pretty much at the end of the show. Now, there are other things we didn't catch. We will get them next time round, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have to mention the guy, though, whose wife wants to name their kid Ableton.
Yeah, we could, but we'll do that another time. I want to leave this on the Dom thing and
Yes.
on Brad for coming in.
No,
Yes,
on
thank
Dom
you,
is a
Brad.
much better
Although, can I
reason
just ask, is there any particular reason, like we're talking in an ASDA underground car park?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yes, because
Brad's got his
Brad's-
speakers on.
Brad's got his speakers on.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. I did.
Oh, that's
say
all right,
I'd
it's cool.
turn it down more.
But And I have, Andrew, this is something very topical. Can you give me just 1 minute to play something?
You're not doing this AI thing, are you?
No.
Okay,
I
okay.
promised.
Is it something which is going to get us a copyright strike?
It is not. I swear.
We're at time. Go for it, Mike.
It's just 30 seconds.
I'm going to time you.
And that's time up.
That's 15 of them gone already, Mike. This is not the most spectacular and dynamic end to the show. And yeah, time's
There we
up.
go.
Strip off, Andrew.
That is a rand machine. A dry drum loop.
Mike, I've got to tell you, we didn't hear anything.
Really?
Yeah.
We
Bummer.
didn't hear anything. So there we go.
Oh well.
That was pretty random, dude.
I'll tell you what, that DBX unit.
Yeah, great.
That was Dolby C.
Well, that's what I get for not having loopback set up ahead of
Next
time. No, just play it. I set it up with 20% and then at 100%, and it can get really
Too much
nuts.
information. Too much information.
Mime it.
Yeah, mime it. So listen, we're at the end of the show. We're going to be drawing this to a close now. Brad, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks,
No,
Brad.
thanks for inviting me. I'm sorry. This on Fridays, I have to pick the daughter up, and on Fridays I take her for ice cream, and taking her for ice cream is more important than us fucking nuts
Yes.
Yeah.
on YouTube. So
Absolutely, it is. Well done.
Take me as well, will you?
yeah, once with the next thing with the Kaladan, then I'd love to jump on the show
Yeah,
with you again.
and
It's
you
much
better
easier
bring-
coming on someone's show than doing it yourself.
You better be bringing ice cream with you, Brad.
Brings all the boys to the yard, to be honest.
So, what do you
So
got
we
planned
hear.
for this weekend, Brad?
Sorry.
What have you got planned for this weekend?
I've bought a bunch of shit to put in the front garden. Some
bunch of
dividing
shit?
things, dig some soil.
That is how it works.
Planted
Sentex.
some marigolds
Oh.
this weekend. Yeah.
Well, that's
It gets
good.
me out of this workshop and going out and being in the sun because I'm just, getting a bit of vitamin D and just forgetting about technology and getting my that was something in the video. If you noticed while I'm doing the demonstration, when I played it back, I'm like, look at the fucking state of my fingernails.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention
Absolutely
that. You look like a hobbyist mechanic.
Because
You look a tech.
I'd been out in the front garden doing some little bits and digging, and then forgot.
Well, thank you for being on here, Mike, Dr. Mike. As ever, you have been wonderful. What are you up to this weekend, young fella?
Well, I'm looking forward to a few days where you're not cutting me off in mid-sentence.
Right, I've got to stop you there.
Kent, what are you
Actually,
doing?
I've got some.
Mike.
I've got some bits and pieces of work I have to do, and I'm getting set up for some music stuff. Drone Day is going to be in late May, and I've got some video generation to do and some audio stuff for that, and getting ready for Super Booth.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. And Kent, what are you up to this weekend?
Let's see. I got to do some strobe timing on the Mustang. I have I got a Jupiter 4. I've got to start tomorrow. What else
What
is there?
happened to retirement?
I ran out of money.
Ken.
Two 2600s I've got to get done for Monday. There was something else. I'm sure Fiona will poke me in the ear and remind me of what it is because she has the list of everything I have to do.
And are you doing a show tomorrow night?
I might do one tonight.
Tonight? Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
as well because she's watching absolute shit down there, and I can't be bothered with it. I think she's watching.
Is that Isla?
It is, but she's being shy.
Hi, Isla. How are you doing?
Come on, Isla.
Isla.
Yay!
Hello. You're done now. You can leave.
She's going to be showing all her friends at school this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go.
Isla.
So
Well, I'm going to be doing much the same as Brad, which is I'm going to spend some time in the garden. I need to get out there and do some things and get some sunshine. And then I've got 12 videos to edit over the weekend, so I'm going to be getting on with that and tidying up some audio.
Are they porn?
And I'm also planning, I've got to finish my plan to work out how to cut off Mike in every single sentence, and how to adore Isla even more. I adore you.
Listen, I've got to say as well, Andrew, thank you very much for... Andrew gave me a personal call a couple of weeks before I started video and gave me some very valid pointers about doing video stuff. Like, say your name, stop saying,
And he ignored all of that and made a really good video instead. Well done.
Well, I didn't take it on board. I used an AI thing that cuts out all of the that you say for you.
Isla, this is the penguin of death.
Oh dear.
Yes, that is the penguin of
These
death.
are the guys that I've told you to worry about.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not getting the frog out.
Well, listen, guys, we're way over time this time, but
Bye,
it's been
Isla.
worth it. It's been worth it. Oh, that was...
That's an even bigger car park.
There we go.
Much better.
And I think we're going to draw this one to a close. So, oh, goodness.
Oh, dear
that
me.
reminds me.
Sorry about
I've
that.
now got to
Yes.
set up to have the PSN outro. So, Isla, you're the only one we care about. Isla, thank you so much for coming. Big round of applause for Isla.
Yeah.
And to all of you out there in lovely, lovely PSN land, thank you for attending, for being here, for paying attention, for putting up with my nonsense and all of this. And we will...
Tao Sophie Music, John Simpson, I Sing the Body Electric, Stephen Smith, twice. Thank you for your donations.
Exactly that.
And please click like, subscribe, ring the bell. We love you guys.
Yeah. And I didn't cut you off then.
Yeah.
No, because it was about the station, not about me.
I must remember, I've got to give a shout out to Andrea. I think he's joined as well. I think he's now subscribed as well. I met him this week with his Juno 6.
What's your best friend called, Isla?
I don't know.
Good answer. No, it's a good answer.
Must get bullied at school with a name like that.
Well, this is a big shout out to I Don't Know.
yeah.
Yay! You can share I Don't Know now. You can show them this and they'll love you for it.
I think 8-year-old kids have got better things to do than watch our streams, dude.
I think
True
you're
enough.
absolutely right. I'm
Yeah.
going to come and have ice cream one day. Guys, gentlemen, ladies, Isla, the whole lot of you, thank you. And that is a show.
Bye.
Oh, that's what.